I can tell you this. I've heard of people who take after Christmas, they sit down and they actually go over everything that they accomplished in the last year. And they do that because sometimes it's like day after day after day after day. You feel like every day there's another challenge or something that has to be solved. And it feels like unending, like, is there ever an end to this, or is this going to be my life? But if you actually take a moment and you look back at a year, right, and you actually pull out your calendar, this is what they say to do, is pull out your calendar and see, like last January the ball was here, and now the ball is here. And so it's the reality of how much you've actually already accomplished in looking backwards.
Right. If you remember the movie My Cousin Vinny, and he got stuck in the mud, every time we started talking about goals and getting things done, I'd think of that movie because I've gotten stuck in the mud. I lived in Georgia, and they have mud down south. If you get stuck in the mud, every once in a while you got to measure how far am I actually making any gains? Where did I start? Oh, I started way back here. I am making gains. I thought I wasn't. Or, oh, I started up here and now I'm back here. I'm losing ground. The end of the year, actually the end of every quarter, and this is the end of the fourth quarter, is an important time to look and see, are you making traction? When people start our program, and a lot of people started our program this year, they actually take a lot more on. And that feeling of getting lost in the mud or lost in the woods can really be overwhelming. But it's really important, at least on a quarterly basis and definitely on an annual basis, to stop and look and see, where was I and where am I going to be in the future? Now, it's not, we've never been about making money. It's about helping your community. But we had 2 clients at our recent training that were old clients that came back. One of them said he came back because he just wanted to be connected to the group again.
Nice.
But while he was here, he realized when I first started with them, I was pretty successful practice. I was doing about $1 million, a little over $1 million, maybe $1.5 million. And now I'm doing $5 million, and I have 2 practices because I have systems and I can run them both.
Yeah.
And he really realized, wow, I just missed a group because this is a great, great thing to do.
Yeah.
The other one started, he was doing gross collections of $300,000, which meant he was taking home about $100,000. And this year he's going to do $1.5 million.
Wow.
And he looked back and he was like,
it was nice to see them both.
It's funny that our one friend's comment was, the more I hang out with Mike and Colleen of AMI, the more money I make and the more patients I treat.
Yeah. Well, I think we talked about, the first thing we talked about, right, which then leads to that, is that I remember those clients. I remember them going through. If you go at the end of every day and you look, like, I always say sometimes to myself, like, sometimes you end the day and you're like, boy, that was just a day of one thing after another of having to solve or struggle or something like that. And then some days you're like, wow, that day was an easy day. As long as you incrementally are moving forward, right? Sometimes I'll come home and I'll go, I just need a good meal and a good night's sleep, right? To get up the next day, because you realize that as long as the ball is moving forward, some days it moves forward far and you're like, that was a great day. Yeah. And that's the misconception, that the ball has to move really far to be a great day. A great day is if it moves at all, because some people move backwards.
Right. Well, sometimes you have to take steps backwards too. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of times when people talk to us, they go, I've spent so much money. I hear patients say that, or clients say that. I've spent so much money. Well, how much did you start making? Well, I don't know. I didn't even look at that. So you got to look at, are you investing in things that generate more income, or are you investing in things that don't generate more income?
Yeah.
All of our services generate more income. So investing in something like us is a great investment because there's a bigger return. I'd gladly put down $1,000 if I knew I was going to walk out with $10,000. And that's the goal, is to invest in things that build your business, to make your business run more efficiently. Now, what this means is, you might say, well, I used to take home 50% of the collections, and that was my profit. And now I'm only taking home 20%, which is a fraction of what I used to take. But the pie is a much bigger pie. So
you're actually taking home more.
You got to look at the raw number and say, what were you taking home before? Like both those examples I gave earlier, those guys were not taking home the same percentage of profit. They're taking home less of a percentage, but a much bigger
pie. Yeah. Well, and you brought up a point there about going backwards, right? Regardless of what they are, when things happen and you feel like you go backwards, right? The importance of going backwards is that you learn what happened and you actually learn from it. The people who have done huge things, like you think of Elon Musk, right? They've had their things that didn't work out along the way, but it's how you react to those things that don't work out. So you have a choice, which is, something doesn't work out, or because there's systems to put in place. You're putting systems in place, like you said, things are happening, right? And then something doesn't happen, you lose an employee, or something happens and you feel like you rolled back. You have a choice at that moment. You have a choice to stay down and stay back and stay small, or you have a choice to actually stand back up, learn from it, and move forward. And so since we're talking about the year in reflection, when you look back, there's going to be those things, and you really should smile and look at them and say, what did I actually learn from that thing that happened? Because we all have it. We're in business. Things happen, right?
Yeah.
What did I actually learn? And recognize that you learned something from it. So there's never a failure. There's always just a learning point. That's all there is.
Yeah, as you were speaking, I was realizing this year more than any other year, I had guys tell me, over the years, we've been working this for 11 years now. We've talked to a lot of clients, and I've had clients say, what you're saying is great, but it's a lot of work and I'm not in this for the money. I just want to help my community. Well, I've talked to probably more people this year that say, I just want to help my community, except I'm not making enough money to pay my bills.
So I can't help my community.
Or himself or his family.
Yeah.
And that I've seen more this year than any other year because the reimbursement to chiropractic through insurance is like, you can't live off that anymore. It's almost like it's back to the cash days, which most doctors, when they overcome that, find out that's a more lucrative thing than actually working for insurance.
Yeah. I want to comment on your helping community. You know what I mean? I want to help the community. I hear that too. And I always say, if your practice got big and you employed 5, 10, 15 people, and you actually were able to have those team members support their families, like income-wise, that's a vital part of a community.
Right.
Anybody who says, I just want to help patients, I just want to help my community and not make too much money and not have too many employees, I can tell you their practices are about this big.
Yeah.
They're not even a drop in the bucket. It's really helping the community is helping a lot of people, which means you employ a lot of people.
That's right.
And you help those families, and those families survive, and everybody in that family helps somebody else. That's how you help a community.
Yeah. The game goes like this. The bigger you want to get, the more impact you want to make at selling whatever it is you want to sell. Maybe you're selling widgets, but we're selling healthcare. Healthcare that's non-invasive and doesn't hurt people. If you want to make an impact in your community, you have to get the help of other people. You must get the help of other people. And why can't you be bigger than the hospital? Why can't we employ thousands of people?
We totally can.
Absolutely can. And there are chiropractors out there that think like that and go, yeah, I want to do it. There's a lot of chiropractors who go, it's a little too much work. I just want to, they're trying to make it sound like you guys are guilty of thinking about yourself more. But actually, I would reverse that and say, we're trying to think about the community.
Yeah.
We want to change the world. We want to make this thing right so people can have a place to go and get fixed.
So when you look backwards in the year, you take a look at what you've done, what you've gained, where the ball has moved forward to actually help more of your community, more of your team members, right? But then you also look at the things that maybe didn't work out so well, figure out something you learned from it so that it never happens again. And then there was opportunity in a downfall. Yep. So there you go. That's looking in there.
How much do we move our ball forward for not just ourselves, but for our community, for our group, for our families, and for our future generations?
Exactly.